Hey there, it's Nacho here, and this is The Agentic Project, the podcast where Dani, my co-host, and I bring you the minds building the future of agentic AI. This is your front row seat to get all the tips and tricks to stay ahead of the curve. Are you ready? Let's dive right in. Today, we have the honor to be with Benjamin Bekken, CEO and co-founder of WePost. Welcome, Ben.
So
how are you doing?
I'm good, doing good. How are you?
We're doing great. We're very happy to have you here. Today, we're going to be talking about content creation, the impact of AI in content generation, and the side effects for founders that are building their own trust throughout their own profiles with AI, and how can that impact in the future of this founder-led growth generating content on social media. So Ben, why are you here? What's your background? Why are we speaking about content generation? You have a big background there, so put the audience a little bit into context so that we can get it going with the podcast.
Yeah, awesome. No, great to be here. Thank you for the invite, Danny and Nacho. It's awesome. And also that Martin from Data Button reached out and pinged me on the side. You need to join this, so happy to be here. No,
Awesome.
I'm Benjamin from Norway, originally from Trondheim, which is in the middle of Norway. It's also where they have the technical university, so it's kind of the MIT of Norway. So I went there, studied media science, and worked in an agency, and saw that there was a lot of manual processes and a lot of boring tasks. So I thought, why isn't there a tool to take over this boring task, and I can do all of the fun stuff like creating creative documentaries and more of the creative tasks rather than the boring manual tasks. And there wasn't any. So as I was studying at NTNU, I met some AI people, which seemed really interesting. So I dabbled around with Stable Diffusion. And after a while, I thought hey, let's create a startup that actually creates content with Stable Diffusion. And actually we can work our way from there. So I worked kind of in an agency built brick by brick. And then I applied to the Untapped School of Entrepreneurship, which is a venture creation program. It's kind of like a university degree of Y Combinator, or the whole point of that is to create a venture. So WePost was created there.
How long ago was this? Sorry to interrupt. How long ago was this? How many years ago?
No, it was. So I delivered my master's thesis this summer. So I just graduated.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
So been working full time for about a year now after finishing as a student. So it's been a heck of a ride. We launched on Product Hunt, became #1 product of the day, even beat OpenAI as operator launch, which was super fun, and got a 1 million grant in Norwegian kroner. So now we're looking to scale and fundraise and really build on growth.
So you started WePost about a year ago?
Correct.
Right. And did you have any prior experience? Because WePost, just give a little 2 cents of what WePost is and what are the capabilities within the app, within the platform.
Yeah. So WePost is a platform where you can plan, create, schedule, and analyze marketing content. So pretty much social media content. Now there's a lot of different tools which does that today, but we had something really big in the beginning. We kind of combined Notion, ChatGPT, and Canva, and then Meta Business Suite within one solution. That was kind of the main idea and what we have built. And then we are kind of iterated and we find kind of our niche to create carousel posts on LinkedIn, because the performance on carousel posts contra any other form of post is enormous. And it's super hard to do and super hard to do well. And it also creates this great flow for AI to create a storyline, like a hook, and then a flow through the storyline to the CTA, which brings them to the website. So that was kind of what we are doing in short terms. Carousel posts on LinkedIn.
Wait, so let me highlight that. So what is the most well-performing post format in LinkedIn, did you mention?
So the best performing post format is carousels, especially on LinkedIn, because you upload them as a PDF. So they take a lot of space in the feed. But what is the most impactful in the feed is actually that people interact with your content. So likes and engagement is pretty much dead on most platforms. You really have to work really hard to get that kind of engagement. But carousel posts, you kind of get it for free, because people, even though they don't like or comment your posts, they like to click through the carousels. So they give kind of the algorithm some sense that, hey, this guy or girl actually likes your content. Let's bump it up more into their feed, even though they haven't kind of engaged in liking or commenting on the post.
Right, this is
That's
super
a good
insightful.
insight.
Yeah.
So even if you're not getting likes or comments, if people are clicking on your carousel images,
Yeah.
LinkedIn detects this as hot and it promotes it more.
Yeah, 100%. So you always see that if you just post like just the text or just a text with an image, it gets less impressions than if you post a carousel post, because people click on your carousel post, they don't click on your image and text, if that makes sense.
So is that even more impactful than video format, where they stop the feed for a few seconds watching the video, even though usually the watch time isn't long enough? Is carousel even best performing than videos?
Carousel is best performing than videos. It always depends on the content. So if you make a shitty carousel, usually and you make a great video, the video usually does better. But overall, usually carousels does really well if people actually interact with the carousel. That usually works really well.
Wow. That's super insightful. I had no clue. I did try a couple carousels like a few months ago, but I haven't done anymore. No. So that's actually good to know. Wait, so you were creating content before starting this, or how did you come up with the idea of this project of WePost?
Yeah, so I worked at an agency, a small agency in Trondheim. We usually created content for businesses around Trondheim. And I worked there part-time when I studied. So since I worked there part-time, I usually got the less maybe fun stuff. I usually got more of ads and more of the bland corporate content. So that is kind of why my idea was that I wanted to do the fun stuff. And the fun stuff, in my opinion, was the bigger stuff, like landing page movies, creative documentaries, and not the short snippets you create on people's LinkedIn profile kind of. So I wanted to automate that more. And that was kind of my idea to initially create WePost.
For those business owners that are starting or are willing to create a brand in social media, so you niche down on LinkedIn. What's the reason that you chose LinkedIn over YouTube, Instagram? What would you recommend to these business owners?
No, great question. So we iterated a lot. So WePost supports 8 platforms today, actually. So you could be everywhere. You could be on X, you could be on Facebook if you want. But what we saw is that Instagram and Facebook are pretty much dead platforms unless you put money on it. So it's really hard to grow organically. And on Instagram, you can grow organically, but you need to create Reels. And Reels is creating video format is much, much harder and requires a whole other skill set than actually creating text and carousels and visuals you can create with AI today. But then we saw LinkedIn, which has kind of this carousel format, and it really performs well. It even performs better than video. So that's why we saw this initial thing, and we didn't see a lot of people taking that in the market. And also we got a lot of traction from customers. They didn't care about Facebook or Instagram. They wanted to be on LinkedIn. So that is kind of why we got some initial traction here, and we see that the metrics are really good. Let's double down on this. This platform was kind of the reason why.
How many clients do you have right now?
So right now we doesn't have that many actually. We have around 20. We recently went from self-serve we really were agency based. So we bootstrapped. So we just have around 20 paying a higher fee, but we also have a self-serve solution where people just use it as a freemium or paid user, where we have around we have a total of 1,500 users on the platform.
Now that you're mentioning all the different solutions or pricings that you offer, it's very interesting because you, as of the moment of this podcast, you're offering a tier of 20 euros per month. And that it's just self-serve, as you say, but also you have the option to have a human working with you for, I think it's 300. And it's super interesting because this is also that button is doing. You have this self-serve option, and you also have this human in the loop option. What's the reason on doing this?
It's really because what we see is that people aren't really adopting to AI. They just learned about ChatGPT, so it's really hard for them to. Many of them even learn how to use Canva. So it's really hard for them to initially switch over to another tool when they just learn how to use ChatGPT. But they still see they struggle between going from ChatGPT to, for example, LinkedIn. We see that the content is often bland. They create like super AI generated content. If you see the excited news, you see it all over the place. You need to kind of process it somehow. And there is where Weepos kind of comes in. But it's a learning curve. So having a human in the loop kind of eliminates that learning curve a bit. And by us helping them initially, onboarding them, helping them when they ask for it, and maybe create some content for them initially and then ships them away, and then they start to use it self-serve over time. We see that we had multiple clients which pay around $500 every week or every month, and now they are moving over to the self-serve where they just pay $20. But then I'm not involved at all in the process. They're just using Weepos as a tool. So I'm super happy that we have come this far with the product, that people actually are able to find it so useful that they can use it themselves.
So it could be seen like a kind of training, right, or education.
Yeah.
So do you think that there's a gap there, or there's a transition that is required from people using like traditional tools to getting used to work with AI?
Yeah.
You are seeing this in the market?
Yeah, 100%. So I think like people who are actually helping clients onboard, kind of helping them learn using more AI into their processes are those who are going to win, because I think people are, at least in our domain, marketing space, people are like overwhelmed. There's so many tools and people don't know what to use. And I think those who actually help them get started and help them initially by solving their own problems, those are the ones who are going to win, I think.
What are the top 5 mistakes people do when using AI in marketing?
Top 5 mistakes. Whew. There's a lot of mistakes. So even so myself.
The ones that you're seeing most, and it's so obvious that you have like this background and you are like an expert.
Yeah.
And you say, man, this is bad. Like for those that are listening to us, what would you tell them, man? Stop doing this.
Yeah. Okay, I would say I would stop using like AI generated images in general. Like they are often so bad. And not like you need to process it somehow. You need it to tailor it more towards the content. We see a lot of people just prompting in ChatGPT. The model has become like a lot better, but you still see it, and it kind of just makes AI slop, if you know that term, and people don't
What's
care.
What is AI slop?
So AI slop is, I don't know if I need to explain like the dead internet theory as well, if you heard about that theory. But it's like in the future somehow we're all gonna just act towards, internet is gonna be filled with bots and just AI generated content pretty much. Just bots interacting in the comment field. So like the internet isn't the place for us humans anymore. And that is also why I see like the first mistake is that people just generate an image. They think like, this is okay to fit well with my message, and they just post it. But usually it like downgrades your initial message behind the post rather than enhance it. But this can also be done really well if you actually process that image. So that is like one of them. Do you want me to take 4 more?
It's fine.
We can do it.
It's just if you have like key ones that you are seeing, right?
Yeah.
The ones that you see the most, doesn't need to be 5.
Otherwise, yes.
Wait, but
go for it.
You
Nacho.
came up. Well, sorry, Dani, you go for it. Then we go with this topic, because that internet theory is something that we wanted to discuss today.
Yeah, I actually want to get there.
Okay.
Yes, because I also have the feeling that like it's so easy to reverse to the mean and start using ChatGPT to create content, and everyone at some point will start doing that.
Yeah.
So my question is, and you gave us a grasp of your opinion here, that do you think that the rise of AI will lead to a greater consumer distrust on social media, and people will like social media will start being less authentic?
No, I actually don't believe that, because so I have a double master's degree. I have one in entrepreneurship and one in media communication and IT, and I wrote a master's degree in that. So It was actually about like authenticity in content creation. And what I saw when I asked people what they believe is like authentic, they don't really care if something is generated with AI. But it's kind of, if they see it's generated with AI, the content itself is so bad that they know it's kind of created with AI. But if they don't see it's created with AI, it kind of is so good that they don't care. If that makes sense. I mean, good quality content will always be valuable somehow to someone, even though we get more of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in that line, and you already kind of mentioned it, but to like frame it well, what is the one skill that a founder still needs to have, even if when they are creating AI generated content on a weekly basis for their branding?
No, also great question. I think for founders, like creating good content takes a lot of time, and I think it should take some time. But at the same time, there's some things we can have in mind when we're creating content, and that is always like the 4 pillars. People want to be entertained, they want to see their like friends and social and be like up to the news, they want to feel something, and they want to be inspired. So as long as you can make them kind of learn, be inspired, or touch on any upon those pillars, and kind of again route them to what you're doing in your business. So like for you guys, routing it to Flowhog would be the most optimal thing, but it can be like something that makes me feel good and makes me feel good about it with Flowhog, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So imagine like we're discussing about the ChatGPT. Like for those people that haven't used WePost so far, what's the difference between using ChatGPT to create content and using WePost? Like what's the added benefit of using WePost? Why should someone start using WePost?
No, I love that question. So using ChatGPT it's like, I don't know, using something which isn't meant to be used for. I mean, we're trying to create a digital marketer. So everybody, if you don't have a marketer, you can use WePost. And if you are a marketer, you can kind of using as a sparring partner. And with WePost, you could plan. So you get kind of an integrated calendar. So you can kind of create a full content plan, which then is integrated with AI and integrated with your branding. So you already have your brand in place, and you will always learn from your posts. So what performs well, what does not perform well. It tries to write the same captions, create kind of designs as the content that perform really well. And that is how you can use WePost more and better than you would if you would use ChatGPT, because you need to open a new chat and maybe you can like train your own wrapper or something. But again, it doesn't create carousel posts. Then you need to go into Canva and you need to maybe copy and paste text over there. And then you need to create some scheduler. Then you need to go over to, I don't know, Later or Buffer. So it's kind of like we already have all these processes inside one platform, which makes it super simple, I think.
I like with what we mentioned earlier of this, like this, the internet death or whatever we mentioned on the line of I consume a lot of time on LinkedIn, and I see a bunch of AI generated comments, like BS comments on people's posts. I see a lot of AI generated content like copy. Big shout out. I say this out loud in social and LinkedIn a lot of times. Stop using M dashes.
Yeah.
When you see a long dash in a text, no matter if you wrote it originally and passed it through ChatGPT to fix whatever, delete those M dashes because it screams that it was made with ChatGPT. Please delete that because it's like a screamer. I see an M dash and I'm like, okay, I'm stopping here. Even though if it's good, authentic, whatever, it's like, okay, this was made by AI. Even if in the back the collarbone was actually a human, I'm like, okay, this screams AI, which actually is getting people a little bit fed up of, okay, I'm scrolling down and it's all AI generated content. Even though what you said, like stick to those 4 pillars. If I can spot patterns that scream AI generated, I'm stepping back. So how is this gonna be like in 4 years, even 3 years, where all our Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube feeds is AI generated content? Am I gonna, as you said, am I gonna step aside from socials? Am I wanna have more human presence? Therefore, first question, do you have it? You've done a lot of research on this. So how is interacting with social media gonna be like in 2 years from now?
No, it's really a great question. I think it's really also hard for VCs to invest in a technology like Weeples because they can't see they usually can predict the future when they invest in something. But here in the marketing space, they feel it's so crowded and the AI is gonna like, how is the market going to look in 10 years, right? So it's super difficult for them to take that bet. And I totally get that because I actually have no idea how it's going to look myself. But we think about it here in Weepos. We think, is this like the best way to interact with other people online? Are there any better ways? And we think that maybe in the future you can work with more AR and VR stuff and actually see like digital advertising, more of the interactive ways rather than actually just scrolling on social media and seeing the content. But I think it will stay like this for at least, as you asked, 2 years. I think we will see just more content, but I think actually we will see better content. So the algorithms will be more aggregated, they will become better. The content we will see will also be better because you will see more of what you like in the feed. And also people are really aware. What I learned is that people train their algorithms. People are really like aware that on TikTok, for example, people only like the content they like because they know that the TikTok algorithm is so good that if they liked something by accident, they know they're gonna get that shitty content a lot, right? So they try to really train their own algorithms. And I think that as long as people are doing that and its models are getting better, right? So you also get better content aggregated in your feed. So for the next 2 years, I think there will be more and better content, hopefully. But right now, in this shift with a lot of slop.
Yeah, fair enough. So would you say, would you actually recommend a founder? Because you just brought up a new social media we haven't spoken about, which is TikTok, where it started as a social media for younger generations, but now we see everyone jumping in it. LinkedIn has been, as you mentioned, in there fighting with Instagram and Facebook in the past years. When it comes to like business owners, would you actually recommend business owners to be investing time in generating content for LinkedIn? Is it a place where business actually happens, or do most of the people still see it as a job posting platform and that's all?
No, I don't know about how it's working for you guys, but LinkedIn has worked really well for us personally. And I also see that for our clients, like especially in Norway, Twitter and like X didn't have like a big following here in Norway. I know it's really big in the US and maybe so not much in the rest of Europe as well, but no. Right. So I mean, I think LinkedIn still is king when it comes to business, because what I see is people are really struggling about cracking TikTok and Reels because they're kind of competing with other people creating funny content. You're using kind of TikTok and Instagram Reels differently. You're trying to just maybe send it to your girlfriend, a funny video, or some to your friends, rather than actually checking out branded content. While on LinkedIn, your scroll is more professional. You're kind of more looking for a new tool, or kind of in this mindset, which is different, which is kind of why it is easier to kind of, actually get business done on this platform. So I would say LinkedIn, and also Twitter is really good if you want to go into the US. People are really fleeing Twitter to of course, LinkedIn, and also to another platform called Blue Sky, which you see a lot. So if you try to, not so much on Threads, I know that some people are there, but I haven't really seen a lot of traction there yet. I don't know about you guys, but
I haven't really played with Threads at all. No.
Actually, I signed up on your platform I think today, and I saw that you also have this. You also support Reddit.
Yeah.
And To be honest, I think that Reddit is one of the most underrated platforms here in Europe, because I think it's one of the top 10 platforms in terms of traffic worldwide. And it's so hard to publish on Reddit and to get it good on Reddit. But if you manage to post like something that is valuable, you can get huge traffic. And this is something that happened to us. Like we created a video, we created a post, and in 48 hours we got like around 75,000 views on the post. What's your take on Reddit? Like, have you used Reddit? What's your take on it? Any advice for someone that doesn't know about Reddit or wants to start using Reddit?
No, also great. We have Reddit integrated into our platform. I just think it's like a much harder platform to actually do naturally, because there's a different mindset on Reddit. You have to create kind of like, it's more question and answer based, kind of like forums. And when people are in a thread or something, you post like memes or something like that. So you really have to tailor it a bit more. Meanwhile, when you create content on LinkedIn, you could also publish the same type of content on X or Facebook or Instagram. While on Reddit, I think you need to work with it a lot more. So I think that is why kind of it's difficult to crack. But I definitely think that, as you said, if you do it correctly, it really works. I have tried it myself, have not nailed it yet. Wish really I could, but no, I try to like show up in some forums, ask questions, but I think I haven't really cracked the code yet, I think.
Yeah. Maybe if I can give my 5 cents, something that worked for us was you have to monitor like a thread, a subreddit, like for a long time, and more or less at some point you start realizing what's the type of questions that it's being asked more. Like normally there are these 2-3 topics that people are more interested in. And rather than making a question, it's providing value. Like you write like a topic covering this, like, but it has to be a real topic, no AI generated, or if it's AI generated, every word has to provide value, because in Reddit, if you use AI, you're being killed.
Yeah.
People do not tolerate AI in Reddit. Spam, it's not allowed. Promotion is not allowed. So yeah, if you manage to like monitor one of these subreddits and you notice what's the pain that most of these users are experiencing in this subreddit, and then you write a genuine post and providing real value, this is when it can explode. But otherwise, it's so difficult. I've posted more than 10 times, and I've only managed to get like this huge traffic like twice. But also it's a matter of trying and error and trial and error. No?
Yeah, I mean, like 2 out of 7 times is a really good metric if you got 75K views on that.
Once in a lifetime, though. Eh?
Yeah. Some luck.
How many employees are you right now?
So we're just four people.
Four people, okay. And
how many founders?
How are you dealing with that?
Yeah, so we're 3 founders and 1 like first employee.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess how are you using AI internally in order to run the entire company with 1.5K customer like users with only 4 people? That's something you couldn't do 10 years ago.
No, I think that's definitely true. So also like we're trying to stay super lean. When I was a student, we applied for a lot of grants and got some initial funding, and then I hired like crazy. And then I realized I needed to train these people as well, and it didn't scale. So now we're just 4 people, never been faster than we are now. So we started like coding with Claude. We used Claude for coding like before it was mainstream, I think, which was super powerful for us. It created so much faster processes. And then, of course, when that got incorporated into Cursor, we started using Cursor. And also, what is really cool about our team is that we got our own CTO, which has studied data science with specialization in artificial intelligence. So he studied in like France, the 5G university. I don't remember its name, but it's super famous. So it's really good. So he trained his own AI models. So a lot of what you see in WePost is also some of his AI models, and not just these APIs from OpenAI or from Anthropic or what it might be. So we're actually trying to incorporate more deep tech into our platform as well. So we're trying to stay ahead of the the curve when it comes to just being like a GPT wrapper. Wepost is kind of more in that.
Yeah.
Even though we still use it a lot.
Yeah, and about like regarding customer success, because you do have a lot of users, 20 clients, and you offer this human plus AI subscription, which for the audience that is not aware of this, is basically you pay a monthly subscription to use this software, but not only that, but as Benjamin mentioned earlier, you also have a human from the team helping you to do the onboarding and everything. And you guys are 4 people. How are you dealing with that?
So also great question. We use Intercom directly on our platform. So those are mostly for our self-serve users. So when they got a direct question there, we use that. You get 1 year for free if you're a startup. So that's super valuable for us scrappy founders. And shout out to Intercom for that, I guess. And then we also use Slack. Also, again, scrappy, it's free. We have a Slack community, so that is for our premium clients. We have like our own closed group where we continuously talk with them, iterate, work kind of like an agency would, but a really effective one because we use our own platform and we use Slack to really do anything without having a meeting to do all of the work. So that works super well, actually. So it's just like we are 2 guys. I got 1 engineer and the CTO. They are working mostly on the AI and the backend. I work on the front end and customer support kind of. And then I have a COO, which mostly takes the financials, but also helps on the customer support. So it's 2 of us only working with all of the customers.
Sweet. That's actually pretty impressive, honestly. Dani, do you have any other questions, or should we start with the last section of the podcast where we ask random, less AI topic questions, but maybe more personal?
Fine from my side. Let's get to it.
Yeah.
Let's get to this.
Okay. I'll keep with the first one. So for a founder that for someone that wants to start their own company and has no idea how to get started, but they have in mind that, hey, I wanna do something on my own or get started here. I wanna build something. What is the first step that you would recommend them to take to get that inertia?
To like become a founder?
To start working on whatever idea they have, to take that leap of faith to get actually started with the process. They are stuck at their job. They don't like what they are doing. So what is the first step for someone stuck at their job willing to actually get into action with starting something? What would that first step be?
No, I think that step would definitely be just do it. And whatever the idea is now super easy to get started with doing anything. If it's software, you can now vibe code whatever you want, your MVP. Like when I started out, we started out with a Figma sketch and then tried out some no coding tools to really test our MVP. I didn't like we tried Bubble and stuff. I don't know if you know those platforms, but I wish I had the Data Button or Replit or any of those tools.
Same.
So I mean, just get started. I would definitely use Data Button to kind of create my initial MVP. It costs really little to I hired like developers. They cost like a hell of a lot when I could have just coded it myself using Data Button. And then you could use Wepost to kind of market your tools. And then you can use like really small budget tools that can make you super effective, which you can do just on the weekends. And then based on that, you can try it out on some friends and some families and see if you actually got something. That's what I would have done. Like create an initial MVP and try to get it out there somehow.
Amazing. Solid. Dani, you want to throw one?
Yeah, I have a comic one.
Yeah.
Imagine it's 2045. Okay, so it's 20 years from now.
Yep.
And you have to decide to either work for an AI company that is 100% AI, like your coworker is next to you, it's an AI agent that during coffee breaks he wants to speak about AI about philosophy with you in AI. It's an AI agent, okay? Or you have to go the other way around. Like you join a company that's fully human, no AI, no ChatGPT, like everything is still done with Word, Excel. what do you decide?
I would
Staying
definitely
fully human or going to the dark side?
I would definitely go to the dark side and talk with AI, I think. Sounded much more interesting the way you put it with the...
Fair enough. And to close, if you had the chance to have dinner with one person, celebrity, entrepreneur, business owner, dead or alive, tonight, who would you like to have the dinner with?
Ooh, great question. I think that's so boring, but I guess Steve Jobs or someone like I will like tap into the mind.
Fair enough.
I love great design and I love entrepreneurship, so that's kind of also his philosophy, I think.
Not boring. I mean, it's good. It's gonna be a little complicated, but it's a good answer. It's a good answer.
Rise him up from the dead.
Awesome, Benjamin. Thank you so much for coming. We had a great time. We got some really good, insightful tips from you that hopefully everyone can actually get the message. So let's definitely stay in touch. It was great to connect. Thank you everyone for tuning in. See you in the next episode.
Bye bye.